Good morning, everybody. Let's talk about what happened with Trump's debate last night, and I guess not just Trump, but also the Republican debate as well. But let me explain how that all went. So Tucker Carlson, of course, had his interview with Donald Trump. Honestly, it was a lot more interesting, although they had a lot more fighting going on. Roughly 160-ish million views on that video last I checked. Um, again, it's hard to say with Twitter clicks, like with Twitter views, because you could argue someone scrolling through their feed, maybe watch like 10 seconds of it, and maybe that counts as a view. I heard the Rumble stream of the Fox News broadcast had like 300,000 concurrents, so a lot of people were watching that as well. Fox News, I think, kind of torpedoed a lot of the coverage of it. You had a lot of different pundits doing broadcasts during the time, but they couldn't actually show footage, not more than 3 minutes of the actual broadcast, because Fox News had placed a 3 minute limit on the amount of footage any other outlet could use, showing what people were actually talking about. And so clips, ironically, are limited. It's almost like this, the RNC just had its huge debate, and you can't even really watch it. I mean, unless you're like on Fox News. And so, really, it was more like a Fox News video. It was more of a Fox News video than it was of like an official Republican debate. And in terms of fair use and the way political processes normally work in an open manner, it was a very odd decision, let alone a very odd decision on behalf of the RNC for making that kind of deal with Fox. That being said, of course, the Trump format was the open one, and this caused a lot of people to compare the two. Some people were saying, well, this is almost symbolic. Some of the criticisms against the RNC debate were, it's basically for donors and for insiders. And unless you're either a donor or an insider, you're not watching it, basically. Or of course, a very dedicated Fox News viewer who does not like Trump in particular, meaning you're not among the 40-50% of people who are probably going to be voting for Trump over the other Republican candidates. In terms of how that went, though, clear winner. It was up in the air. Some people said there was no clear winner in the debates. A lot of people said Vivek, based on polling, was the clear winner. Others said DeSantis was the clear winner. Based on polling, DeSantis, I think, is performing better. But even that goes by the poll you look at. Interestingly, Vivek kind of, he interrupted a lot of people. He kind of talked over a lot of people. And some liked that about him. One of the things he said during the debates was, I'm the only one here who's like basically not part of the deep state or, not part of the establishment. The crowd actually booed him for that. And of course, you had a lot of people, poking jabs at, of course, Pence as well. When it came to their policies, it's the same thing. It's the same basic discussion we've been hearing for a long time. Meanwhile, the Trump-Carlson discussion was honestly really interesting. They talked about things you normally do not hear Republican candidates ever be willing to talk about. You had Tucker Carlson asking Donald Trump if he thinks that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. You know what I mean? Did Jeffrey Epstein kill himself? Trump goes on a short thing with that where he says, first of all, maybe. Then he explains, Jeffrey Epstein, of course, came from a very comfortable lifestyle. They take everything away from him, throw him in prison. And, for someone to go through that, a lot of people might, in fact, take their lives. He was saying it's not unthinkable that he might have killed himself. But he also notes that there were some weird things like, security cameras turning off and the guards not being there during that exact time. Tucker asks Trump, are you afraid someone is going to kill? Are you afraid the deep state essentially is going to try to kill you? Now, you're either watching these canned plastic debates, or you're watching, Trump talk about whether he thinks, he's going to get like Clinton or something. You know what I mean? Like, which it was a very interesting contrast. In other words, the debates were very interesting in terms of the contrast based on this. But Trump actually talked about something really interesting. And I want to show you a short clip of this. It's about 30 seconds roughly, but I think it's interesting. Trump explains what gives him hope. Because one of the questions Tucker asked him was, look, you're facing these rolling indictments. Maybe they've attacked you. They're attacking you legally. If you look at the escalation of aggression, the next stage on that's going to be violence. Are you worried for your life at this point? And Trump kind of avoided saying, I'm worried for my life. He didn't really say that directly, but he did suggest that the people he's up against are sick. I mean, these are exact words. They're sick, disgusting, sick people. I don't know what else he said. But suggested that there's almost nothing that they won't do, that they will go after anything to win, and he's, for some reason, the figure they seem to hate the most. But when he talks about what gives him hope, I mean, it wasn't framed like this. This is me saying what gives Trump hope, but in the face of these attacks, in the face of what he said is a sick group of people who will do anything essentially to go after him, who will do anything to win, even if it means messing with the elections or staging fake events or, whatever else they might do, or using COVID-19 to rewrite election laws and locking down the whole country and destroying the economy for their own gain. This is what Trump was talking about. You know what I mean? This is what he was talking about. But he says, within all of that, what gives him hope is when he sees the average person and the fact that they see through it. And he's taking poll numbers as being the pulse for that. He's taking meeting people on the street as being the pulse for that. He's seeing the reactions of people as they're facing all this. And he's realizing that they're not buying it. They see through it. People are smarter than we think they are, which is something I've been saying too. Let me show you this clip, and then we'll talk a bit more. I'll play it. Started at 9:36.
I have never seen spirit like there is right now. Even coming down here, just the people on the road that are just absolutely going crazy. And the reason is, I think they like me, and I know they love my policies. I hope they like me too. A lot of people say they don't like me, but they like my policies. I think they like me. But I have never seen spirit like it is right now. And the reason is because crooked Joe Biden is so bad. He's the worst president in the history of our country. I don't think he's going to make it to the gate, but, you never know.
You get that. It's interesting because this is something I've actually been talking about as well, actually. Some of you have mentioned, hey, it looks like they're stopping at nothing to get Trump. It looks like they're destroying the legal system. It looks like they're willing to do anything, including maybe bringing lockdowns back right now, maybe declaring a climate emergency, maybe doing underhanded things to give themselves extra legal powers to do even more of whatever the heck they want. And, I mentioned before that it's really like a shock and awe campaign. A lot of people are shocked. I never thought I would see anything like this. I can't believe they're doing this. Oh my gosh, how could it possibly get so bad? How is it that you have a revolving door in the legal system where murderers and rapists and drug dealers and who knows what else tend to get off, at the very least off on bail, and then oftentimes reoffend? How is it you can have those people, and it looks like there's no legal system, but then, an 80-year-old man and goes and protests in front of an abortion clinic, and they send 30 FBI agents to his door. You know what I mean? And I'm not exaggerating. This has actually happened. People are watching this stuff, and they're like, how could it have gotten this bad? And I know when watching this, it's easy to lose hope. It's interesting to see that Trump, for him, ironically, this gives him hope. Because what he's suggesting is that the problems created by the Democrats and the establishment are ironically waking people up. They're seeing it for what it is. They're seeing how bad things are, and they are wanting change. And in any society, even the most totalitarian countries on the face of the earth, Soviet Union, Chinese Communist Party, when enough people wake up, it reaches a threshold where the regimes can no longer do anything. They lose their power, basically. We've seen this in every tyrannical system that has ever existed in the history of humankind. It is always the ironic end of the dictator. It's the ironic end of the authoritarian regime. And what Trump is saying is that the enthusiasm, right, the hope that he's seeing is that people do not want what is being forced on them. And you can read the tea leaves, so to speak, with talk of the new lockdowns. There were people saying, we want to bring back the lockdowns. Maybe it's time again. I'll show you my episode last night, in fact, where I go pretty in-depth on this. There are people trying to bring back the lockdowns. They want them back. And those people do not represent most people. Those people represent the authorities. They're the insider traders of, big pharma and stuff like that, aka Congress. Hear me out. Our elected insider traders, those types of people, the medical industrial complex, the people who get stinking rich by, making health protocols like Fauci and so on. These are the people talking about maybe we just might need to do it again. The people who have skin in the game in terms of rigging it for to win elections and so on. Those are the folks who are talking about bringing lockdowns back. And of course, the brain dead news outlets, the journalists, the ivory tower types, they want that back. The average American's like, no, never again. If you try it, not only will I not comply, but I will make so much noise that you will be miserable for trying to attempt this. I will make you miserable because I will be so annoying and so loud and so obnoxious every single second where you try to force me to do something against my will. That's ironically what seems to give Trump hope. And he's saying that also there's hope right now because, again, there's hope because people are waking up because, in Trump's words at least, they're seeing that Biden is showing them how bad things are when they do things in the wrong ways. And that's what Trump is saying, basically. It's an interesting way to look at this. He's kind of turned this around where in the things that a lot of people see hopelessness, Trump sees hope. But the difference is he's looking at the positive side of it rather than the negative side of it. This is like a life lesson. He could probably write a book about this. Positivity with Trump. How to see the good and the bad. How to see the good despite the bad. He'd probably be like he could go in better times. He could go on Oprah and talk about his life theory on how to see happiness despite the sadness. You know what I mean? Because with anything, there's a duality, so to speak. Well, with most things. If you look at the chaos in society, it looks terrible. But the chaos also shows people what does not work. It's the nature of failure. It's actually why in free societies, things that don't work tend to fail. And through failure, we decide what does work. And typically what does work is what is sustained. When people witness what does not work, and if they witness politics maintaining a failed state, which is the way socialism works, it subsidizes failure, because ironically, by trying to eliminate failure, they subsidize failure, and this leads to failed societies. Lo and behold, it doesn't incentivize people doing things that are not sustainable to change their ways. If a person lives a life that is not capable of creating success, and you give them success despite that, they're going to maintain the thing that isn't working, rather than fail and hopefully get back on their feet and try it again and do something different instead of acting like a crazy person and keep doing what doesn't work. And then, of course, subsidizing failure by ironically, like, parasitizing the thing that does work. It's like a parasitic system. And for most Americans, if you watch like some of the music going popular right now, it's all about that they're draining our life blood to sustain this insane system. While a lot of us don't like that, I certainly don't like it. It's causing the people being drained to sustain a broken system to wake up and say, what the heck are you doing? And when people start saying that, that's when they demand change, and that's when there becomes enthusiasm for change. And that is what Trump is saying gives him hope. I find it really interesting. That said, folks, let's jump over to Epoch TV for the rest of the episode. We'll talk briefly about Jeffrey Epstein and also whether Trump thinks the establishment would kill him. Let me show you a quick trailer. Again, we have a flash sale going on right now, 25 cents for a week, and you can escape censorship and join us the rest of the episode. I will see you on Epoch TV.
So what was the process of actually putting this all together?
Many hours of finding the right camera angles and watching it. The first trouble started just after 1 o'clock.
45 pages, here it is right here. Donald Trump has been indicted.
Somber day for the country.
This all happened before President Trump's speech was over.
The founder of the Oath Keepers militia group is headed to prison for more than 18 years.
His lawyers didn't have this video. The video we're watching right now, his own lawyers did not have. There was a big question of what did the people do who actually did enter the building.
This is where we picked it up with the security footage that is new. At this point, the story dramatically changes.
The New Jersey man who assaulted a Capitol police officer on January 6th has been sentenced.
So this was withheld.
This was not shown to the defense.
That could be considered exculpatory evidence. This doesn't seem like what a lot of the media is showing.
It's going to change narratives no matter what your political perspective is. What we're after is the truth.